This exercise is going to build incredibly strong legs and improve your mobility at the same time. Not to mention, work on your willpower. Here's everything you need to know to get started with the horse stance. Oh, and by the way, this is Eduardo, and he's going to be doing the horse stance throughout the duration of this video. First off, this exercise has different names depending on the position of your feet. For example, if you have your toes pointed forward, it's called kibadachi in karate, mabu in Chinese martial arts, and in sumo, it's called shikodachi, with the toes turned slightly outward. And there are even particular ways to get into the horse stance depending on the martial art. For example, starting with feet together, then taking heels out, then toes out, then heels. I've also heard people say that your knees should be under your elbows like this, or maybe close to this. And in sumo, it's basically just twice the width of your shoulders. Now, if you're a martial artist, follow what your teacher instructs. However, for our purposes, this is what I suggest. All right, start off by just taking a big step out to the side. How far? Yeah, whatever. What feels comfortable for you is going to be just great. Now you're going to take your toes and open up your feet, about a 45-degree angle. From here, place your hands on your knees and you're going to start to squat down. Now, when you're squatting down, you might feel that your feet want to open up a bit more. For example, taking your heels out to the side a bit more, and that's fine. Do what feels comfortable for you. But I want you to focus on making sure that your knees are going outward. Don't let them cave in. And this is another reason why I have our hands here in the beginning. So you're starting to drop your butt towards the ground here. And you should get to a point, or you will eventually get to a point, where you can place your forearms on your knees, dropping so that your thighs are parallel to the ground. Now, if you can't get into this position just yet, don't worry, it's totally cool. Just keep working on this, slowly working yourself so that you're going down here. Remember, don't let your knees cave in. You should actively be pushing your knees outward. Now, this is where things get fun. So you're going to pull your body forward so that your knees are starting to track over the toes. From this position, as you start to go forward, see about dropping your butt just a bit more and pulling your chest up so that you're trying to get this nice straight line with your back. This is the position that we're after, all right? Now, let's just sit here. Yeah, this is tough. Not gonna lie, working to be able to get into this position with the knees pushed out, hips pulled under so that you're in this straight line might take some time. Now, when working on the horse stance, you'll quickly realize that this exercise ain't no joke. There's a good reason that this has been a staple of martial art training since, well, forever, because it works to build strength and mobility. And you can continue to improve your range of motion in this position by opening up your feet even wider, taking the heels out, the toes, working on sitting in this position, not just building strength and willpower, but also working to gradually go deeper with this to the point where you're going to find that it's going to be pretty wide stance here. Now notice I'm using my hands for support when I'm doing this. Gradually working on the position, trying to sit into this, bringing my chest up as much as possible, turning the feet out maybe a bit more and sinking. Gradually working to the point where I can go lower and lower into the position. This is about as low as I can go. And the longer that you hold it, well, the stronger you're going to be getting both physically and mentally. And if you want a real challenge, then I suggest working up to being able to hold it for 5 minutes. And don't let the arm position confuse you. You can have your arms up, out to the side. Heck, you can even cross them or just keep them on your knees. Really, it's up to you. Find a position that allows you to be able to practice the position and hold it for longer durations of time. So what if you can't get your thighs parallel to the ground? That's fine. Just work where you're at and take the time to at least try to pull your hips under you and pull your chest up. So you notice my thighs aren't parallel, my butt isn't sinking down that far, but I'm just focused on trying to keep this nice posture, this straight line, pulling my hips under me while making sure that my hips don't collapse inward. I'm always pushing my knees outward. And what if your butt sticks out? If your butt's sticking out, then it probably means you're going too low into the horse stance. So what I would suggest is just to stand up a bit further away from the floor in order to be able to pull the hips underneath your shoulders and get in this nice straight line. Working from here, you can gradually work on sinking deeper, deeper, and deeper. And what if your back hurts? Now, if your back hurts when you're doing this, it probably means that you have too much arch in your back. So coming back to what I mentioned earlier, trying to sit up a bit higher so that you can pull the hips under. And you can even focus on squeezing your butt a little more. It's going to give an additional pelvic tilt there that's going to place your hips more directly underneath you. Yes, there is going to be a slight arch in your back. It's totally fine. But if you do feel any discomfort at all, then stand up away from the floor should alleviate that, and just continue working from here. Now, does this put stress on your knees? Yes, it can. And that depends on how deep you're going into this, and as well how far forward you're pulling your knees over your toes. Now, if you do have knee issues, then like I've mentioned for pretty much everything so far, it all comes down to finding a position that's going to be good for you. If you do have trouble with the knees, this can actually be very helpful. And this is something that I used when I was having knee pain and actually couldn't do my full squats. I would just get into this position, a position that was comfortable for me, and just hang out here trying to get stronger wherever I was that day. Each day might change a little bit. You might find that you can go a little bit deeper. Might find the next time that you do it, you have to back off a bit. Just be smart with it and make sure you're doing something where you're not in pain. What if I can't hold it? Now remember, you don't need to be in the full horse stance in order to work on getting stronger. Back off a bit, that's kind of the theme here today, and just work on extending the time that you're holding it. 5 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever. The cool thing is you can do this anytime, which leads us to the next one. How do I progress with this? There's so many different ways that you can train the horse stance. While you're brushing your teeth, drinking your morning coffee, watching TV. Heck, just when you're walking, take a little break, pop into a horse stance, hold it for a couple seconds, and you're good to go. But what I do suggest is working first 5 seconds. Then you can gradually extend that duration of time to 10, 30, working up to a minute. And like I said earlier, you could even do a challenge where you work on that position for 5 minutes. Doesn't mean that you need to be in the full horse stance. Just find a level that's good for you and work on extending the duration of time that you're sitting in that position. But Ryan, you're doing it wrong. My martial arts instructor said I need to keep my toes pointed forward. All right, so if your martial arts instructor wants you to focus on kibadachi, or whatever you call it in your martial art where your toes are pointed forward, then listen to your martial arts instructor. What I'm after really is just getting your legs really strong, improving your mobility, flexibility, as well as your willpower. So turning the toes out slightly, just like they do in sumo, which is my preferred way of doing this, is going to allow you to safely work towards a position that might be a little bit easier on your knees. And that's why we're doing it with the toes turned out. Again, do what you feel like doing, getting in a position that's going to be comfortable for you. So how much weight should you add to this in order to build massive quads? Now, I actually don't suggest adding weight to this, but there are some options that you can do in order to, make it more fun if that's what you're after. But in the beginning, I would really suggest just working on getting lower to the ground, work on your flexibility, your mobility, willpower, holding it for longer durations of time. Again, if you need a challenge, then work up to 5 minutes. How long will it take me to get splits if I use this? Of course, that depends on the person, your current flexibility, and a whole lot of other stuff. What I suggest is just keep working on it. Doesn't matter how long it takes. Point of it is just putting in the work. And there you have it, my version of the horse stance. Doesn't really matter what you call it. Most important thing is to find a position that's comfortable for you and get to work.